Hello, my knights of dark renown. It's me, Galen. Galen's got Parkinson's. Um, Subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Don't subscribe if you don't. And if you're not watching, how do you know what I've just said? I want to talk to you today about priming, painting your picture, painting your models, and primer. Now, I'm very old school. I started painting miniatures seriously in 1972. Yeah, 1972. And they were Airfix models that we'd bought and played soldiers with, and sort of grew from there, like a lot of us did. And there were all sorts of, you've got to wash them in washing up liquid, get all the oils off them, and then you've got to cover them in PVA, and then you've got to paint them, and then you've got to varnish them. And so we did. And then what was discovered, that when the rifle bent on your Napoleonic fusilier, and you pulled it straight, the glue came off because it was PVA, and it went, took all this paint off. So that didn't work. Then we sort of fast forward, 1976-ish, undercoating became the thing. Nobody talked about primer. It was undercoat. And you painted your figure white from head to foot with whatever paint you were using. Where acrylic paint hadn't even come in, so it tended to be sort of humbrol, to be honest. And then stage 2, stage 3, I suppose. You started going to model shops where they hadn't properly undercoated things, but what they'd done with a really watery black is they'd covered the figure, so that in the cabinets, instead of all the silver metal figures, you got sort of black ones, and you got more definition. You could see the chainmail on the Norman knights, things like that. When I was doing art at university, college, I got a degree at Leeds Uni, but I did teach training in Scarborough. That's the way it was back in the 70s. So we had a module where they said, choose something in your second year that you've never done before, but you like to do. And we promise you'll not fail, even if you're totally rubbish. So I thought, I'll have a crack at some art. I like art. So I did. I loved it. Oh, what a great year. Chuckling off to the art studio at night, painting pictures. But one of the things the lecturer, Mr. Gormley, lovely bloke, said was this: why not try, as an experiment, if you're going to do a cold, wintry picture, undercoat your entire canvas with a cold colour. Choose a cold colour, blue, purple, grey, white. If you're going to do a desert scene, try orange, yellow, red, cover the whole thing. Before you even start, let it dry, paint on that. It does affect what you're doing. And so for quite some time, the theory I had was that if I was going to paint an ultramarine Warhammer trooper, why not paint him from head to foot with ultramarine colour, and then have jobs done. I've got a lot less to do. So it gradually became primer, undercoat really. And from that, and again, we're still not talking about primer. Nobody's selling primers. If you went into a war game shop in 1978 and said, I've got a primer, it sent you to the do-it-yourself shop because nobody knew what you were talking about. And then what happens next? I think probably what happens next is acrylic paint comes in. I remember painting my first acrylic painted figure, and it was weird. Humbrol, I knew where I stood. Pop the tin off, clean your brush in meths or terps, all finished. Fine job. Acrylic. They were expensive for a start. I remember I painted an Eldar. That was the first figure I ever painted. And I just couldn't get me the hang of all the different colours. I'd never had that before. That blew my mind. It was like I was entering a strange world. It was very odd. And then when people started to sell specific primers at 15 quid a tin, a part of me thought, oh, yeah, get me some tartan paint. You need a left-handed screwdriver for this. Stand over there, son, and get me a long wait. Somebody is taking the very Michael. Because I've been wargaming now for 30 years and nobody's tried to sell me this stuff before. And as I look along my lines of wargames figures, they are not all chipped and losing paint. Me smells a rat. So I didn't get into priming. Just didn't. Now I know, and I've been honest, I should. Okay? I watch very, very clever people with beautiful miniatures who prime them. And if you go now to an instructional video, which is far slicker and cleverer than mine, it will say, choose a nice figure. Number 2, prime it. My problem with priming is you can spend 16 quid on a can of primer. You can shake it until you turn purple. And let me tell you, one advantage I have with Parkinson's, I'm a damn good shaker of tin cans. Nobody better. It's built in. Don't try to tell me how to shake something. And you give it 1 or 2 squirts, you do 6 men, and it bungs up. Or the top falls off, and it won't go back on again. And it stops working. And you can hear there's 3/4 of a tin of paint in there. You can't get at them. Flipping thing. So that bothers me. Now I know you can get primer painty things, but my worry is that you get a duff can. Okay, you get a really good shop. We've got loads where I live. All the wall game shops are brilliant. But I've got to walk. I've got Parkinson's, remember. I might have mentioned it. I don't know if I did. Sometimes I mention it. I try not to go on and on about it because I don't want you to feel sorry for me. It's a mile into town. I have to walk. I don't drive. So I'll walk into town a mile. I wait for a bus. I get on a bus. I go 8 miles off to the nearest big town that's got wargame shops. I spend 16 quid on a can of enamel, can of primer. I come all the way back. Get off the bus. I walk home. I shake my can. I go. Oh. Now, the shops will change it. Well, that means I've got to walk a mile and get on a bus, go all the way to town, and go to the shop and change it and come all the way back. So, and I think partly because I never primed as a youngster, when I was learning the trade, if you like, I've sort of still undercoat. I don't prime. In them days, I couldn't afford it. And like now, if I went into town and I could only afford a couple of tins of paint, a couple of bottles of paint, primer would be more than that. So do I come back with 1 can of primer and then I can't paint my figures anyway? Or do I not bother? Which is why I like Foundry paint. No placement, no sponsorship. They're not paying me to say that. I have learned to use Foundry. When you buy Foundry paint, you get green, there's several greens, and you can buy a set of 3, dark, medium, light. And I use the dark one as undercoat. So if I'm painting me, I don't need to worry too much about hair. So I go with a dark flesh, and then a dark blue, and then the sort of darkest, whatever, russet colour, and so on. And that head to foot, and that would be my undercoat. Now, the nice thing about doing this when you're not particularly dexterous, or you're like me with the hand business now, or you're new to the hobby, or you're young, whatever. Oh, I don't know. We're all at different places, aren't we? It's a good job because we wouldn't all fit in this room. 6.5 billion people. It's tiny. It'd be ridiculous. So get that out of your heads. Don't come around here for your tea. Yeah. So, because I have these problems, as I do the head, my head, well, and then when I come to do this bit here, assuming, let's imagine the figures like that, look, with a collar. When I do the collar, I'm going to smudge on my head. I've got a big blue here. And I do the russet thing here first, and then try and do this blue so it doesn't touch the russet. Let it dry. Then I go to the medium paint, and I would do medium. But I would look, you see there, like, see where the light's hitting me nut there, or your nose, that sort of chin, lug oils, cheeks. And I'd just give them a quick, like a sort of T across there, like that. And here you can see, look, it's dark under there, so I wouldn't do anything under there, but I'd do the medium blue there. I'd also use it to hide any mistakes. So if the face went onto there, then it'd be getting a bit of medium blue to hide that. At which point I ink it. Top secret ink skill. And we'll do an ink thing, and I'll paint one of these. I'll do it for you. But today I just wanted to get something out there and talk about priming, like a lecture. Yeah. So I'd ink it then. And Warhammer, their fleshy, inky things. I use this one, Reichland Flesh Shade. It's called. So Bobby Dazzler. And when you put it on, it goes into like all the eyeballs and the crooks of ears and ear. All that gets painted for you. Suddenly, this fleshy clump turns into a face. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. And you get blue ones and green ones. Oh, man. All sorts of ones. Then, when it's dry, I go back with the lightest shade of all. Now, this is where that would happen. It's 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 where that would happen. And any mistakes would now get touched with that at the top, very top of that. I wouldn't try and paint it, I'd just try and flick it. Maybe across the top of that shoulder there. Now, at the end of painting a figure, I suppose it's probably common sense to varnish it. I've had bad experiences varnishing figures over the years, especially with spray varnish, where I've sprayed an entire regiment of 30 beautifully painted museum quality figures. I've sprayed them with spray varnish. I've come back to the workshop in the morning and they're all covered in grey fluff. They all look like they've mouldered away. And if you do it laboriously by hand, it's a pain. I've got some matte varnish all over the place. Do I use it? Not as often as I probably should. I suppose as I get older, I look after my models better than I did when I was younger. So perhaps the protective layer isn't as important. I don't know. Now, I'd love your comments on what I've said. So I know a lot of you are not going to agree with me. I know that. I know there's a lot of people out there going to be going prime. But there's people who use airbrushes. There's people who use cans. There's all different sorts of primers, all different prices. We all have our own favourites. Tell us. Tell us what you think about priming. Do you do it? Do you not do it? Why? What are your favourite primers? If you are coming into the hobby and you need a primer, recommend one. Make your case. Don't just sit there grumbling and pointing at me and saying that fat bald man doesn't know what he's talking about. Make a cohesive argument. Try to keep the 4-letter words down to a minimum. This is a children's show. No, it's not. So there's something to have a think about, isn't it? And I will say, What's that? I can't do it with Parkinson's. It's one of them, doing press-ups on a mirror. Ta-da, Chuck. Keep your bowels open.